I am convinced that Michael Jordan would average 40 points a game. 50 is too much. Not quite 50, but 40 points a game.
Don't
Let
go there.
me count the ways, Nick Wright. Let me count the ways. Number one, it is easier than ever to get to the rim in today's NBA. And obviously, Jordan lived at the rim. The floor is spread, which makes it easier. And then defenses run you off the three-point line. They'd rather you take a two than a three. So Michael Jordan would get to the rim easily. And then when he gets there, there's no resistance. There'd be 2-3 players at the rim nowadays. When Jordan finished, there were routinely 6 and 7 guys in the paint. And they could hammer you back then. Nowadays, they can't even touch you. And if they do, it's a foul or a flagrant foul. Oh, and Jordan also did that, going to the rim, scoring at the rim, during the best era of big men we've ever seen. There was Patrick Ewing, Hakeem Olajuwon, Shaquille O'Neal, David Robinson, Alonzo Mourning, Dikembe Mutombo, Mark Eaton. And you think he couldn't finish over JaVale McGee? Secondly, the mid-range. He's arguably the greatest mid-range shooter in NBA history. And I know Mike D'Antoni and the Houston Rockets hate the mid-range and all the copycats the same. But the guys that still do the mid-range shot dominate. How about Kawhi Leonard? How about Kevin Durant? Champions and dominant scorers. Thirdly, three-point shooting. Jordan was adequate back then. If he played today where the three-pointer is encouraged, and he would practice it more, and he would be an above-average three-point shooter. Not saying he'd be Steph Curry or Klay Thompson, but definitely an above-average three-point shooter, which would give him even more points. Finally, the pace of play is so much faster today. Jordan's last 2 years of averaging 30 points, 96 and 97. Teams averaging 96, 99 points a game, but Jordan averaged 30. 97, 96 points a game, but Jordan averaged 30. Today, they average 111 points a game. You don't think Jordan would get 40? I may be underestimating the man.
Okay. I love everything you just said there. It was perfect, and you ended on a perfect note. Pace of play. Because I'm just going to lay out some facts. You had a lot of supposition there, a lot of he would have gotten better at three-point shooting. I just know it in my heart of hearts. I'm going to give some facts, right? In the 90s, when Jordan won the titles, he never averaged more than, he averaged for the title runs around 31 a game, topped out at about 32 and a half. Now, in the 80s, he had a 35-point-per-game season and famously a 37-point-per-game season. Here is a fact. In the last 35 years, including this year and last year, the fastest pace of play was 1987, the year Michael Jordan averaged the 37. The 80s, not right now, were the highest scoring decade of the last 40 years and the fastest decade as far as pace of play of the last 40 years. Look it up. It's true. I know people don't like to acknowledge the facts, but those are the facts. We can deal with the three-point shooting in a moment, but I am going to force you as a vessel for all the people, my friends on television, Jalen Rose, who says he'd get 47 and a half, David Blatt, who says he'd score 50, my pal Mike Greenberg, who said he scored 45, to take that to its furthest logical conclusion, which is, how do I explain this best to the audience? Think about money when we talk about inflation over years. This much dollars in 1985 is worth this much now, and then you do vice versa. You then flip it around the other way. If you are saying Michael Jordan would average 42, 43 points per game, when in the 90s, when he was winning, he never averaged more than 32, what you are saying is Kevin Durant, who you used, would struggle to break 20 a game. That Kawhi Leonard would struggle to break 18 a game. Broussard, it can't only work in one direction. It can't only be, okay, if it's so much easier to score, then why aren't those guys scoring like that? Unless you believe Jordan's offensive game is just exponentially greater than Durant's. What you have to be saying is that The guys of Jordan's era, Dominique, would be at 38, 39 a game right now, and nobody's close to it. Jordan would be at 43, 44 a game. Or does this math only work for your guy? Are we only doing this era inflation for your guy? If it's so much easier, let's take Durant. Leave LeBron out of it. Durant, I think, one of the top 5 offensive players ever. So his points per game dropped drastically in Jordan's era, right?
No,
correct?
No.
He's down around
Durant
22.
And
no,
Kawhi
why?
would be phenomenal scorers even during that time. They're just not as skilled. Now Durant is very skilled, but he doesn't go to the rim like
Durant.
MJ.
Talk to me about Durant.
He doesn't go to the rim like MJ. I don't know if you're throwing out biochemistry or what this strange stuff you're doing. Just because Jordan would score more in today's game, I'm not saying Kawhi Leonard wouldn't score back in the 80s and the 90s. No, but
that's, Broussard, that's how it works. You can't.
No.
Broussard, that is the logic of the argument. And the reason you're saying no is because that's where the argument falls apart. Unless you are arguing that Michael Jordan, I am not arguing
Tell me
Jordan
why
couldn't
Jordan
hack it
wouldn't,
in today's
Tell
era.
me why he couldn't score that many points in today's game.
Because in the
James Harden scores 37. He can't get to the James Harden gets to the rim at will.
30. No,
he's
James Harden scores 36.
Michael Jordan. Okay, 36.
James Harden scores 36, did it once, and he did it on 13 three-pointers per game. Here's the full list of guys to average 35-plus in a season. Kobe once, Rick Barry once, Harden once, Jordan twice, 35 and 37, Elgin once, and, of course, Wilt 5 times. So take Wilt out of the equation. You can only take 35 shots per 100 possessions in an NBA game. Nobody's ever taken more. In fact, the only guys to take even 34 are Kobe, AI, Russ, and Jordan. So you've got to find where the points are coming from because we've seen Jordan play at the pace of this era in a higher scoring era in what I'm told was a better era of the 80s. And he capped out at 37. So Wildes, find it for me. Find me the extra 8 points that get him to 45 points per game.
No, it's as simple as this. If LeBron James played back in the 90s, he would adjust to the physicality. People that want to say, oh, LeBron would struggle because it was so physical. No, he would adjust to it and be able to take the hard hits at the rim and still attack the rim like he does now. If Michael Jordan were in the Days era, he would practice the three-pointer more. And just like when he entered the NBA and wasn't a good mid-range shooter and became arguably the best ever in the mid-range, he would have become a good three-point shooter. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
The game is built. Zion Williamson, who can't shoot and just stepped into the league, is averaging like 20 points a game in 20 minutes a game.
Yes.
Michael Jordan couldn't score like
Broussard.
that in today's NBA.
No, I'm not. Hold on. I am not arguing. It's a straw man. I am not arguing he wouldn't be great in today's game. He would be right now either the best or second best player in the league. No one denies that. But what you guys are doing, and it's amazing how it happens, it's all this around guys between 40 to 55 years old who either grew up watching Jordan or came into the league covering Jordan. They all swear that's the best era of basketball. It's an amazing coincidence how that happened. Not a lot of 35-year-olds saying it, not a lot of 65-year-olds saying it. It's almost people that tied to the nostalgia of their youth. But regardless, all I'm saying is you guys are making the argument he would average 50% more points than Durant. That's where we're at. Durant's career high is 32. You're saying Jordan be at 45 in this era.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.